sounds a little bit confusing with water, electricity, and water and gases. We've come to a scientific laboratory to get a better explanation, and Lars is a scientist with the National Research Council's Institute for Fuel Cell Innovation. Big mouthful, but it's a lot, right? And you've got an apparatus here that's going to show us how a fuel cell actually works.
Exactly. And it's an absolute green future. What we have here is we have solar sunlight, and with the help of this energy, we split water into space components. It's two gases. Which are they?
Hydrogen and oxygen.
Correct.
H2O, right? Hydrogen, oxygen.
Exactly. So we produce hydrogen on this side and oxygen on the other side. And you can see there's little bubbles coming out.
Oh, wow.
So this one for me?
This is water, yeah.
Yeah, this is water in there, and then you can see hydrogen, oxygen.
Which one is which?
This one's oxygen, and this one's hydrogen.
Okay.
If you remember the formula, H2O,
yes.
It's twice as much hydrogen as there's oxygen.
Alright.
And then we take these gases, we fuel them into our car, or any kind of energy conversion device.
Okay, so that's the fuel cell.
That's the fuel cell there. It's a very small device, and we just fuel the gas over one side, hydrogen over one side, oxygen over the other side. We combine them, forming
water,
and
electricity.
Electricity, exactly. So if you plug this in,
yay!
the motor is running.
Okay, so we start with electricity from the solar cells. Electricity takes the water, turns it into the gases, hydrogen, oxygen. Gases go back together, make water again, and some electricity left over. So we went from electricity to electricity.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
And just using water on the way.
Okay, now I notice you have another car.
Exactly. This is the same thing, just on a smaller version. So we're charging up at the moment. We do the same thing. Oxygen produced on one side, hydrogen on the other, and there's just water in there. So if you plug this in to our little motor, you can see it's actually running around.
Wow.
And then
hey, a car that runs on water. Not too bad. This could be a clean future. I'll pass it. This is a car that's running on water using a fuel cell. Now, this all sounds a little bit confusing. We've come to a scientific laboratory here, and Lars is a scientist with the National Research Council's Institute for Fuel Cell Innovation. But here's how we can find out just how a fuel cell really works. So first of all, what do we got here?
We've got a little car here that has water on both sides, and we've been feeding it solar energy for a couple of minutes, and we produce on one side oxygen, and on the other side hydrogen, and it's being stored in these small containers.
Okay.
And if you connect that to our little motor,
hydrogen, oxygen,
it produces energy that the car runs.
Okay. Now let's see this in pieces because we got some.
Yeah. This is a bigger model. We can actually see what's happening. We feed our solar energy to solar panels, creating electricity. And then in this part, we split the water into its basic components. It's two gases. Which are they, Bob, again?
Hydrogen, oxygen, H2O.
Exactly. And there's 2H and 1O. So we have twice as many hydrogen, twice as much hydrogen, than we have oxygen that's being produced here.
You have to see the bubbles.
There's some little bubbles coming up here. That's exactly the gases that are being produced.
Okay.
And now we take these gases and feed them into our car or any other electric conversion device.
So this is the fuel cell.
This is the fuel cell. So if you look inside, there's a small grid. That's our actual fuel cell.
Okay.
And then we just fuel the gases, hydrogen and oxygen over the surface.
Right. And we get water. I notice it's a little drop.
Exactly.
And electricity.
Exactly. So if you plug this in,
hey!
it's working. We've come from water to its base components, hydrogen and oxygen, recombining them into electricity and water. And there we go.
Back to electricity. So we start with electricity, take the water apart, put the water back together, and get electricity out the other end.
Exactly. Isn't that nice?
Amazing.
Green future.
And if we put wheels on it, it turns into a car. We have a car that runs on water. This could be a green future. Right. There is a fuel cell car Now, if all this sounds a little confusing, we've come to a scientific laboratory to sort of sort it out a bit. And Lars is a scientist that works at the National Research Council's Institute for Fuel Cell Innovation. What a mouthful it is. Okay, so let's find out how this works in pieces. This car has 2 tubes of water in it, so how does it work?
Exactly. So we've been harvesting some energy, and we converted the water to its basic form of hydrogen and oxygen, and we've been storing them in these little containers. And then now we have in direct contact with our fuel cell, and if we connect that fuel cell to our motor, right, it's not running. There's nothing burning, there's nothing moving in the fuel cell, but the car runs.
It does. Okay, now this, it's a little hard to see inside here, but you've got it spread out over here.
Yeah, we've got a little bigger model here. What we see here is we harvest energy, for example, from the sun or from any other kind of electricity source, for example, hydroenergy, another power plant.
Okay, these are solar
These are
cells.
solar cells, exactly.
Light into electricity.
Exactly.
But it could be a windmill.
It could be anything else.
Okay.
And then we take that electricity and put it into water, and we split it into its base components. And what are these gases again?
Hydrogen, oxygen, H2O.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
right, H2O.
And H2, oh, so it's twice as much H as there's O. Twice as much hydrogen as there's oxygen. And we can see the gases being produced here. So there's a couple of bubbles coming up.
Okay.
And we take these gases and fuel them into our car or any other electric conversion device.
This is the
This
fuel
is the
cell.
fuel cell. So this little grid that you have on the inside, that's where we fuel our gases over. One side oxygen, the other one hydrogen.
Right.
And they can be combined for the electrochemical
Okay. We're putting,
silent.
we're putting the water back together.
Exactly. That's what happens.
I notice there's a little drop on the end here. Is that the water?
Exactly. That's the water coming out of the fuel cell there.
Okay.
It's the exhaust, so to say,
Right.
from our car. And the second thing we produce is not only water, but also
Electricity.
electricity. Exactly. So if you take a motor and connect it to a fuel cell, it starts running.
Ta-da!
Isn't that nice?
So it's kind of neat. Electricity in, take the water apart,
Yeah.
make the gases, then put the water back together, going to get electricity out.
Exactly. And you need to produce those gases because you can transfer them around.
You can carry the gases.
Yeah, exactly. So they're very light as opposed to solar cells that are sort of more mobile.
And if you put it all together with wheels under it, you get a car that almost runs on water. This could be clean energy for the future. Okay. Here's another kind of fuel cell car. If this all sounds confusing, I've come to a scientific laboratory here, the National Research Council's Institute for Fuel Cell Innovation. They're letting me play with their toys. But it basically shows you how the fuel cell works. There's a lamp and some solar cells that are making electricity coming out these wires. We can do it with sunlight, we can do it with wind, we can do it with power plants, it doesn't matter. The electricity is going into this water, which is breaking the water apart into its 2 components, hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. There's some hydrogen there, some oxygen there. You can even see the bubbles coming out. The gases then go back down here. That's the fuel cell. The water's put back together again. You get a little bit of water out that end there. There's a little drop. And electricity again over here. Woo. So we start with electricity. We take the water apart. We make 2 gases. We put them back together again. We get water out and electricity. It's a fuel cell. And if you put the whole thing together with a motor that has wheels on it, you get a car that almost runs on water. This could be the technology of the future. Back. Bye.
And you attract all.
Don't believe a word he says.